It's the end of the month. You just got paid. Your salary is higher than it's ever been. And yet, you're sitting there, refreshing your banking app, doing that weird mental math where you subtract rent, subtract subscriptions, subtract life, and somehow you feel the same pressure you felt when you were making half as much. You're not broke, you're not struggling, but you also don't feel rich. And what's uncomfortable is this thought creeping in. If I make this much and still don't feel rich, what happens when I make more? Yeah, that feeling. Okay, that's literally you. Now here's the thing. Most people assume feeling rich is just a number. Hit a certain income, cross a certain salary, and boom, peace, freedom, confidence. But that almost never happens. In fact, most people never feel rich, no matter how much they make. And today, I want to show you exactly why. My name's Jack, and I spend way too much time thinking about money, behavior, and why humans are absolutely terrible at using both correctly. If you're someone who keeps earning more, but somehow feels just as financially tense as before, hit subscribe and give this video a thumbs up, because this might be the most important money concept you'll ever understand. Here's the thing. Feeling rich has almost nothing to do with income. That statement alone annoys a lot of people because we're taught the opposite our entire lives. Earn more, climb the ladder, get the raise, upgrade your lifestyle. And sure, money solves problems, but after a point, it stops creating relief. This is where it gets interesting. There's a well-documented concept in psychology called hedonic adaptation. In simple terms, humans get used to things fast. You buy a new phone. It feels amazing for a week. You move into a nicer apartment. It feels incredible for a month. You get a raise. It feels life-changing for about one pay cycle. And then your brain resets. The new normal becomes normal. So your definition of rich quietly moves further away. Now look, this isn't a mindset flaw. This is hardwired biology. Your brain evolved to keep you striving, not satisfied. And that's why income alone never delivers the feeling people expect. Let me put numbers to this. According to data from Princeton and later studies from Harvard, emotional well-being increases with income, but only up to a point, roughly around $75,000 to $100,000 per year in the U.S., depending on cost of living. After that, happiness plateaus, but stress doesn't disappear. Why? Because expenses scale faster than peace. When your income goes from $40,000 to $80,000, your life changes. When it goes from $80,000 to $120,000, your expectations change. Now you're not comparing yourself to where you came from. You're comparing yourself to people ahead of you. This is where most people don't realize they've stepped onto a treadmill they can't outrun. Let me show you how this actually plays out. Imagine someone earning $50,000 a year. They rent a modest apartment, they cook at home, they worry about emergencies. They think, if I just made $100,000, I'd feel rich. Fast forward, they now make $100,000. But now they live in a nicer place. They upgraded their car. They travel more. They have better clothes. They have more subscriptions. They eat out more. So yes, their life looks better. But financially, they're still tense because every upgrade increased fixed costs. And fixed costs are the enemy of feeling rich. Here's a brutal truth. Feeling rich isn't about how much you earn. It's about how much breathing room you have. And most people use extra income to eliminate discomfort, not create freedom. That distinction matters. Now you might be thinking, okay, but isn't upgrading your life the point of making more money? Absolutely. But upgrades without intention turn into invisible chains. Here's a metaphor that explains this perfectly. Imagine carrying a backpack. At first, it's light. Then, every time you earn more, you add something to it. A nicer house, a better car, more obligations, more expectations. The weight increases quietly. So, even though you're stronger than before, you're also carrying more. And eventually, the weight keeps pace with your strength. That's lifestyle inflation. And it's the single biggest reason people never feel rich. Now look, there's another layer to this that almost nobody talks about. You don't measure wealth in isolation. You measure it relative to people around you. If you make $80,000 and everyone you know makes $40,000, you feel rich. If you make $150,000 and everyone around you makes $300,000, you feel behind. Same income, different reference point, completely different emotional experience. This is why moving to a higher income environment often reduces perceived wealth. Your brain resets the baseline. And here's what's wild. Social media accelerates this effect to an extreme. You're no longer comparing yourself to neighbors, you're comparing yourself to highlight reels. So even if your financial situation objectively improves, subjectively it feels stagnant. Now this is where people make the wrong conclusion. They think the solution is more money. But here's what most people don't realize. If the mechanism that prevents you from feeling rich doesn't change, more money only feeds it. This is why doctors making $300,000 still feel broke. This is why tech workers making $200,000 feel anxious. This is why lottery winners often return to baseline happiness within a few years. Money enters the system, but the system stays the same. Now let's talk about something even more uncomfortable: security versus luxury. Most people spend new income on visible upgrades: cars, homes, clothes, travel. But those things don't create the feeling of richness. Security does. Here's the shocking part. According to the Federal Reserve, nearly 40% of Americans can't cover a $400 emergency without borrowing, including many people earning six figures. Why? Because wealth is not income. Wealth is stored optionality. It's the ability to say no, the ability to wait, the ability to walk away. And most people never build that. They build a nicer life, but a fragile one. Here's a simple equation that explains almost everything. Feeling rich equals control over time plus low financial anxiety. That's it. And neither of those come automatically with income. You can make $30,000 and feel rich if your life is simple and flexible. You can make $300,000 and feel trapped if your expenses own you. Now you might be thinking, okay, but so what's the point of earning more if it doesn't make you feel rich? Good question. The point of earning more is leverage, not consumption. Income is fuel, but if all you do is burn it, you never build momentum. This is where math enters the conversation. Let's say you earn $100,000 after taxes and spend $95,000. You feel stressed. Now let's say you earn $70,000 and spend $45,000. Objectively, you earn less. Subjectively, you feel richer. Why? Because your savings rate creates margin. Margin creates calm. Calm creates the feeling people mistakenly expect income to provide. This is why people who aggressively save early often feel rich long before they are. They've decoupled happiness from spending, and that's rare. Now look, this doesn't mean never enjoy your money. It means be intentional about what actually moves the needle emotionally. Here's something counterintuitive. The purchases that increase happiness the most are reducing stress, buying time, and increasing autonomy. Not status, not luxury, not impressing people who don't pay your bills. Here's an example. Spending $500 a month on a nicer car payment might look rich. Spending $500 a month to reduce your working hours might feel rich. Same money, completely different outcome. This is where it gets interesting. Most people are chasing a feeling they don't understand. They say they want to be rich. What they actually want is relief. Relief from worry, relief from urgency, relief from fear. And relief comes from margin, not income. Now let's talk about action, because awareness without change doesn't help anyone. If you want to feel rich someday, you have to design for it intentionally. First, cap your lifestyle increases. Not eliminate them, cap them. Every raise should partially upgrade your life and partially upgrade your freedom. Second, build a calm number. Not a net worth goal, not a flashy target, a number where if you hit it, your anxiety drops. 3 months of expenses, 6 months, a year. That's what creates psychological safety. Third, stop tying identity to income. The moment your self-worth scales with earnings, peace becomes impossible. There will always be someone ahead of you. Fourth, spend on what reduces mental load. Outsource stress, automate boring tasks, buy back time. These are invisible luxuries, but they compound emotionally. And finally, redefine rich, not as more, but as enough with control. Because here's the truth most people never confront. If you don't define what rich means for you, the world will define it for you, and it will always be just out of reach. Money is a powerful tool, but without clarity, it becomes a moving target. And that's why most people never feel rich, no matter how much they make. Not because they didn't earn enough, but because they never built the conditions that make richness possible. And the moment you understand that, you stop chasing numbers, and you start building a life that actually feels good to live in. That's real wealth, and it's closer than most people think.